Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Layla here, and today I'm going to be taking you through my process of designing a whole new original character, where I'll sketch out some ideas and then completely flesh out the character and throw it into Paint Tool Sci, where I'll line it, print it, and color it in. But before I get into all of that, I do want to let you know that today's video is sponsored by ParKoo. So most of ParKoo's products center around office and art supplies like erasable pens, gel pens, art pens, and planners. And you can easily find them in the link below in my description. And they so kindly provided me with their 36 count permanent markers, which I will be using today to color in my character at the end. So let's get into designing a character. And so I'm just going to start out with just simple sketching and playing around and just basically just drawing things that I'm feeling at the moment. Just basically having fun, like warming up in a sense. And I definitely try to be kind of light with my sketch. That way I don't get stuck with too harsh of lines. And I definitely feel like I went with a really stiff pose here, but I'm still going with it only because I plan on redrawing, more different types of poses and stuff like that. So I'm going to stop right here just because I'm really not feeling it. But this initial playful sketch gave me an idea for kind of what I want to do next. So I'm going to try a different sort of sketch and pose altogether. And so basically while I sketch, I just think about a lot of things as far as what I would like to see in this particular character. Like, especially like the kind of mood I'm in affects the kind of character I end up coming out with as well. And so the first thing is I don't really get caught up with being super unique. I think that that's a super big art block for artists when they think they have to be just super creative. And I feel like that just really stunts any creative thinking because ideas that are boring at first are fine. So I definitely have a better pose here. It feels more flowy and not so like stiff. She's moving forward or taking a step forward. And I definitely get a lot of inspiration for clothing from Instagram and Pinterest. And I saw this design of a t-shirt on Pasabist, I think is her name. And it said like creep on it. I don't know. It was just a really cute design. And it had like, I think some sort of Japanese lettering. And yeah. And so basically just the whole time I started thinking about the personality of this character. And I usually just draw inspiration from my own personal likes and dislikes. Just try and find inspiration wherever I can. And so a lot of that thinking just plays into how this character fleshes out. And another thing that's always inspired me has been childhood TV shows. So things like Sailor Moon is what I grew up on. And I'm kind of feeling like I want to make this a magical girl. Although I did overalls, so I'm not sure how that would play into the magical girl look. I could make her shoes turn her into a magical girl. Ho ho ho. So yeah, this is definitely a big improvement from what I was working with over here in my opinion. I still want to make her a magical girl. I really like the idea of her shoes being her source of like power. Maybe that's what transforms her. You know how like Sailor Moon has her little locket and it transforms her? Maybe she could have her shoes. And so I'm not necessarily redrawing her completely over again, but I am like redrawing the general pose just to try a different sort of outfit. Okay, so she's definitely got this cute outfit going on, and I kind of want to counteract that. It feels a little too cute, and I do get cute vibes from her, but I don't know, I just feel like she'd be more tougher too. Give her a weapon. There we go, something crazy like that. All right, and then I'll probably just stop here. Now I'm going to color my character in with these ParKoo 36 count markers and let you know a little bit more about them. So the ParKoo permanent marker set has 36 vivid and brilliant colors. They're highly pigmented markers which create eye-popping, vibrant impressions. They also work on most surfaces. Since they're permanent ink, they can mark on paper, plastic, metal, stones, photos, CDs, glass, and wood. I personally would probably use them more for drawing and sketching and doodling, illustrating, shading, designing, manga, and detail marking. They're also quick drying and are designed to last against fading, and it's also great that they're non-toxic, low odor, waterproof, smear-proof, and fade resistant. The fine tip creates bold, detailed marks and are designed for coloring fans, adults coloring books, artists, teachers, students, etc. All that for a really great price of $9.99. My personal take on them is they're pretty good, especially for their price. I do wish they had color names or at least a numerical color identification, as it's hard to keep track of them. After having done a color swatching, I found the colors didn't quite match the caps, but I felt that's to be expected, as that tends to be quite common with markers. It was definitely a bit of a challenge when choosing a color scheme for this character, since my color selection is a little bit limited, but I feel the colors I'm choosing definitely add to this character even more and presents a 6th tip in the process of creating a character. Challenges. Sometimes challenges help us to sort of think outside of the box. I just recently created a character completely off of a one-word prompt, and despite being a challenging thing, I ended up with a character that I really loved. So the word was star, and at first I start ordinary, and I thought I'm going to draw a character standing on a star. Eventually, as I began sketching, other ideas came to me as I thoroughly thought about the word star. Things like sky and heavenly bodies came to mind, and before I knew it, I ended up with a one-winged angel type character with super flowing long hair that sat on the clouds and held a celestial star between her hands, as if maybe she were creating that star, which then kind of led to this sort of backstory of possibly a goddess who spins fragments of stardust together to create stars, and so on. So if you find yourself stuck with trying to make characters or can't think of anything, try challenges. There are so many drawing challenges out there that you can twist towards creating characters. One in particular that I enjoy is the one drawing a day challenge, where you're given word prompts each day. And also Inktober will be coming up in 2 months, so instead of making an illustration for each day, take those words and use each word to find inspiration towards making a new and unique character. And I created a really vibrant character with a funky, fashionable personality on the left side, and then I kind of just recreated her again on the right, which is like her alter ego or magical girl side. I drew up these awesome sneakers for the first part, and I kept them on her magical girl side because I really liked them, and then I started wondering how I could just justify them in the second piece. So then I thought maybe these sneakers are the source of her power, similar in the way that Sailor Moon has her locket that is her source of power and transforms her. And this sort of character background building opens up so much more, because so many questions can then be asked from this one sort of thought. If her shoes are magical, where did they come from? Where did she find them? And more things can be built up about her. Maybe she's a track runner. She probably found these shoes in a locker room of an abandoned school. They probably looked really bright and shiny, hence why she may have picked them up. Because honestly, if I see some old, dirty, dingy shoes in an abandoned locker room, the last thing I'm gonna do is pick them up and use them. So I have to give her a reason to actually want them. And so just out of that, a whole story develops, and with it, so does an entire world if you want it. And so I also just flipped her on the right side so her bangs are on the other side of her face, and I completely changed her hairstyle in an attempt to make her different and hopefully unrecognizable to her friends when she's in her magical form. And I did this because it always bothered me when watching shows like Sailor Moon, when Serena or Usagi, depending on which version you watched, would transform and suddenly no one could recognize her. And yes, it's a silly kid's show, but man, at least change the hairstyle. Although I'm sure my character's shoes and bright green hair and pink skin probably give her away, so there's that. Her patch or graphic design on the left on her overalls also came from Instagram, where I saw this outfit that Besabist wore, and it had that design, and I thought it was super cute, so I put it on this character's overalls. I just found it funny that it said creep and kind of adds a certain quirkiness to who this girl is and leaves that up for kind of individual interpretation, I feel. If you look on the right side, which is her magical form, you may notice this ridiculously large battle axe. And so my thought process with that was, if she's a magical girl, she's probably fighting crime. I feel it was a nice departure from the usual things which we see from magical girls, which involve scepters and wands and magical powers, and I definitely feel like she may have magical powers, but I also felt like wielding a huge battle axe made for a good contrast in her overall look. I mean, I've honestly probably mentioned she's cute and bubbly and nice more times than I can count, and in the end, if she's going head to head with some serious villains, she's probably more tough than we think, and a battle axe seems necessary to have depending on how tough the villain is. Or maybe she's the villain. Ho ho ho, what a twist. Anyways, she also has a pair of headphones on her in her normal civilian side, which gives reference to the idea that music is important to her, or maybe she's a DJ in the real world. Although DJs often work at night at concerts and clubs. So I'm not sure how her crime-fighting life would work out, unless she fights crime in broad daylight. But crime is more likely to occur at night. I may have reached a conundrum here. Maybe she just likes music in general, and that's that. Also, I had her stick out her tongue to give a more carefree sort of personality on this side. On the other, she's smiling to give a more serious sort of look, kind of, because crime fighting is serious business. But it seems to still be fun in her mind with that smile. I don't have a name for her, so if you'd like to suggest one, do so below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you all have in mind, and I'd love to know your thoughts on what other sort of quirks and personality this girl could have. Building a backstory is the most fun part, in my opinion, when it comes to character creation. So I hope you all enjoyed my process and getting a peek into how I go about creating a character. Each time is different, but I usually stick to this sort of model. So now go create some characters. I also want to mention that I will have this line art posted on my website for you all to print out if you'd like. If you do print it out, feel free to tag me on Instagram and use the hashtag LaylaColoring so I can check it out. I love seeing how you guys interpret my characters in your own way of coloring, so don't feel shy either. And so overall, I love the design of this character, and these ParKoo markers were super fun to work with and definitely add that extra touch of funkiness to her. And so that's that. So if you enjoyed this video, maybe comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye!